Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nightingale's channel. This is the full story of Fired by My Boss for Lacking Potential. I started a rival company and surpassed them. Part 1. You don't fit in the real world. You're fired. I was 25, living in a cramped studio apartment in Austin, Texas, and pouring my soul into my job at Next Tech Solutions, a mid-sized tech firm known for enterprise software. As a junior, product developer, I wasn't high up the ladder, but I was hungry. I'd spend nights sketching ideas for new features, dreaming of a product that could shake up the industry. My cubicle was plastered with sticky notes, diagrams, user flows, mock-ups. I believed in innovation, in taking risks. That belief led me to the worst day of my life. It was a Monday, and the company's quarterly strategy meeting was the big stage. The entire team, engineers, marketers, execs, crammed into the sleek conference room on the 15th floor. I'd been invited to pitch a new product, a cloud-based analytics tool that could predict customer trends using AI, tailored for small businesses. I'd spent months on it, coding prototypes, researching markets, even testing it with local startups. This was my shot to show I was more than a cog in the machine. I stood at the front, my slides projected on a massive screen, my palms sweaty but my voice steady. Small businesses are underserved, I said, clicking through data. Our tool can give them enterprise-level insights at a fraction of the cost. It's scalable, intuitive, and we can launch a beta in 6 months. I showed mock-ups, early IE, user feedback, even a demo. The room was quiet, and for a moment I thought I'd nailed it. Then Mr. Hargrove, our CEO, leaned back in his leather chair, a smirk curling his lips. "Vaporware," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Few execs chuckled. "This is pie-in-the-sky nonsense, Ethan. You think small businesses care about your fancy AI? They want cheap and simple, not your daydreams." My face burned, but I tried to respond. "Sir, the data shows—" He cut me off. "The data shows you're out of your depth. We don't fund science projects here. We build what sells." The room felt like it was shrinking. My colleagues avoided my eyes, some shifting uncomfortably, others smirking along with Hargrove. I stammered through a defense, but he waved me off. "Sit down, Ethan. Let the adults talk." The meeting moved on, my pitch buried under budget reports. I sank into my chair, my notes crumpled in my fist, humiliation choking me. It got worse. After the meeting, Hargrove called me to his office. I stood in front of his mahogany desk, hoping for a chance to explain. Instead, he tossed my prototype report across the table. "You're done here," he said, his voice cold. "You lack the realism we need. No leadership potential, no grasp of the real world. Pack your things." I blinked, stunned. "Fired? For one pitch?" He shrugged. "For wasting our time. Good luck dreaming somewhere else." I left his office in a daze, my heart pounding. HR handed me a termination letter and a cardboard box for my belongings. My coworkers watched in silence as I cleared my desk. Sticky notes, laptop, a photo of my mom. No one said goodbye. Outside, a spring rain soaked the Austin streets. I stood under the Next Tech building, my box of belongings getting wet, clutching the one thing they hadn't taken, my original pitch deck, the idea they'd called vaporware. The rain mixed with my tears as I walked to the bus stop. Hargrove's words echoed, "You don't fit in the real world." I'd given Next Tech everything, late nights, skipped weekends, my best ideas, and they'd thrown me out like trash. But as I sat on the bus, the city blurring past, a spark ignited. They thought my idea was nothing? Fine. I'd build it myself. I'd show them what a dreamer could do. Clutching my damp pitch deck, I whispered, "This isn't over." The world had kicked me down, but I wasn't staying down. Not today. Not ever. Part 2. I had nothing except the belief I was right. The weeks after Next Tech fired me were a blur of rage and desperation. My Austin studio apartment, already a shoebox, felt like a prison. I had $200 in savings, a maxed-out credit card, and no job prospects. Hargrove's words, "You don't fit in the real world," looped in my head, each one a jab to my pride. But every time I looked at my soggy pitch deck, the one they'd called vaporware, a fire burned hotter. They didn't just reject my idea. They rejected me. I wasn't going to let that be the end of my story. I started with what I had: my laptop, my coding skills, and a stubborn belief that my AI analytics tool was worth fighting for. I couldn't afford an office, so I rented a corner of a dusty warehouse in East Austin for $300 a month, a grimy space with flickering lights and a leaky roof. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. I dragged in a secondhand desk, a folding chair, and a whiteboard I found on Craigslist. My headquarters looked like a startup's fever dream, but it was a start. I couldn't do this alone. I reached out to two former Nextech colleagues: Lila, a brilliant UI designer who'd always backed my ideas, and Marcus, a back-end engineer who'd grumbled about Nextech's stale strategies. They'd both been at the meeting, seen Hargrove tear me apart. Over cheap beers at a dive bar, I laid out my plan. "We build the analytics tool Nextech rejected," I said, sliding my pitch deck across the table. "Small businesses need this." "We can make it real." Lila raised an eyebrow. "You're crazy, Ethan, but I'm in." Marcus nodded. "Screw Hargrove, let's do it." We toasted with $2 PBRs, our team born in a haze of defiance. Life became a grind. We worked 16-hour days, coding, designing, and testing in the warehouse. Our budget was instant ramen and thrift store coffee makers. My savings ran dry, so I drove for a rideshare app on weekends, earning just enough to keep the lights on. Lila and Marcus took side gigs too: freelance design, tutoring. We poured every cent into the prototype, using free software and borrowed servers. The tool was rough, but it worked, predicting customer trends with eerie accuracy in our tests. Funding was the real hurdle. I sent pitch decks to every venture capitalist in Austin, then San Francisco, then New York. Most ignored me. A few replied, with polite rejections: "Interesting, but too early stage." One VC laughed during a Zoom call. "You're competing with Nextech? Good luck, kid." I hung up, fuming, but kept going. After 47 rejections, a small angel investor, Sarah Chen, took a chance. She'd built her fortune in tech and loved underdogs. "Your prototype's scrappy, but it's smart," she said, wiring us $50,000. "Don't waste it." That cash was our lifeline. We upgraded our servers, hired a part-time marketer, and launched a bare-bones version of our tool called Trend Pulse. We offered it to local businesses, coffee shops, boutiques, gyms, for free trials. The feedback was gold. A taco truck owner texted, "This thing told me to stock more chicken on Tuesdays. Sales are up 20%. A bookstore owner emailed, "I didn't know my customers loved sci-fi. I reordered stock, and it's flying." Trend Pulse wasn't perfect. Bugs crashed it weekly. But it was alive, and it was ours. By month 8, we had 30 paying clients, each coughing up $50 a month. It wasn't riches, but it was proof. I stood in the warehouse, staring at our whiteboard, now covered in user stats and bug fixes. Lila and Marcus were debugging code, arguing over pizza crusts. We were broke, exhausted, and miles from stable, but we were building something real. Hargrove thought I was a dreamer with no grip on reality. Fine. I'd make my dream the reality. As I taped a new user review to the wall, "Trend Pulse is a game changer." I grinned. This was just the beginning. They'd laughed me out of Nextech. Soon they'd be watching me soar. Part 3. They laughed when I started. They're stunned. When I return. A year into building Trend Pulse, our warehouse in East Austin was less a dump and more a chaotic hub of ambition. The leaky roof was patched, the whiteboard overflowed with feature ideas, and our team, me, Lila, Marcus, and 2 new hires, worked around the clock. With Sarah Chen's $50,000, we'd polished Trend Pulse into a lean, powerful tool. Over 100 small businesses now paid $75 a month, from craft breweries to yoga studios, raving about how our AI predicted their customer trends. We weren't rich, but we were scrappy, fueled by ramen, hustle, and the thrill of proving Nextech wrong. The tech world started to notice. A local blog, Austin Tech Beat, ran a piece, Trend Pulse, the little startup that could. It got 5,000 views, and suddenly we were fielding emails from curious retailers. Lila redesigned our website on a shoestring, making it sleek enough to fake legitimacy. Marcus optimized the back end, slashing crash rates. I hit the pavement, demoing Trend Pulse at coffee shops and co-working spaces, winning clients one handshake at a time. Every yes felt like a middle finger to Hargrove's sneer. Vaporware. Our big break came at Tech Trend Expo, Austin's premier tech showcase. We scraped together $2,000 for a booth, a folding table draped with a cheap banner. Our setup was laughably basic: laptops, printed flyers, and a glitchy demo screen. But our passion was electric. Lila charmed passersby with her pitch. Marcus troubleshooted bugs on the fly, and I talked until my voice gave out, explaining how Trend Pulse empowered small businesses. The crowd was a mix of startup founders, investors, and corporate scouts. We were the underdogs, and people loved it. Midway through day 2, I spotted a familiar face, Hargrove, strutting through the expo with Nextech's polished booth across the hall. Their display screamed money. LED screens, branded swag, a team in matching blazers. Hargrove's eyes landed on our table, and a smirk spread. He sauntered over, flanked by 2 execs who'd been at my firing. "Well, look at this," he said, loud enough to draw stares. "Ethan's little science project. Still peddling dreams, huh?" The execs chuckled, and a few attendees glanced over, curious. My blood boiled, but I forced a smile. "We're doing all right, Mr. Hargrove. Over. 100 clients and counting." His smirk faltered, but he leaned in, voice dripping with condescension. "Cute. But this," he gestured at our janky setup, "won't last a month against real players." He walked off laughing, and I clenched my fists, memories of my firing flooding back. Lila grabbed my arm. "Ignore him," she whispered. "He's scared. Let's keep going." We did. For hours, we pitched, demoed, and networked, our booth buzzing with interest. Then, as the expo wound down, a woman in a sharp blazer approached. "I'm Karen Delgado, VC with Horizon Capital," she said, eyeing our demo. "This Trend Pulse, who built it?" I stepped forward, heart racing. "We did. It's AI for small businesses, built from the ground up." She asked sharp questions: user retention, scalability, revenue. I answered with data, passion, and stories of our clients' wins. She nodded, scribbling notes. "I like it. It's fresh, focused. Can you meet next week?" I nodded, barely breathing. "Absolutely." As she walked away, handing me her card, the crowd thinned, but our team was electric. Marcus high-fived Lila, and I stared at Delgado's card like it was gold. Nextech's booth, still gleaming across the hall, suddenly looked hollow. Hargrove thought he'd buried me, but here I was, turning heads in his world. We packed up, our gear exhausted but buzzing. Back at the warehouse, I taped Delgado's card to the whiteboard. "They laughed at us today," I said to the team, my voice steady. "Tomorrow they'll be chasing us." The fire that started when Nextech fired me was now ablaze. We weren't just building a product, we were building a legacy. And we were just getting started. Part 4. We don't play their old game. We write new rules. The meeting with Karen Delgado from Horizon Capital changed everything. Her firm injected $1.2 million into Trend Pulse, giving us the fuel to transform our scrappy East Austin warehouse into a real operation. We leased a proper office downtown, glass walls, ergonomic chairs, a coffee machine that didn't taste like despair. Our team grew from 5 to 15, hiring coders, marketers, and a customer success rep who charmed clients like nobody's business. Lila redesigned Trend Pulse's interface into a sleek, intuitive gem, while Marcus beefed up our servers to handle thousands of users. I focused on strategy, steering us toward a market Nextech had ignored: small and mid-sized businesses craving affordable, cutting-edge analytics. We didn't just want to compete, we wanted to redefine the game. Nextech's enterprise software was bloated, expensive, and built for corporate giants. Trend Pulse was lean, user-friendly, and priced for the little guy. Think craft breweries, indie retailers, even food trucks scaling into chains. Our clients loved us. A Denver bakery chain credited Trend Pulse for a 30% revenue bump by predicting flavor trends. A Miami gym used our tool to optimize class schedules, doubling attendance. By year 2, we had 2,000 paying clients, $1.8 million in annual revenue, and a wait list for our premium tier. Tech blogs called us the startup to watch. I framed the first article and hung it in our break room, right above the ramen-stained microwave we kept for nostalgia. But the real prize loomed larger. Core Vantage, a massive retail conglomerate, was opening bids for a $10 million contract to overhaul their analytics platform. They wanted AI-driven insights for their 500 franchise locations, exactly what TrendPulse was built for. Core Vantage was Nextech's biggest client, a partnership Hargrove flaunted at every investor call. If we could snatch this deal, it wouldn't just be a win, it'd be a knockout punch. I gathered the team in our new office, the Austin skyline sparkling outside. "This is it," I said, pinning Core Vantage's RFP to our war room whiteboard. Nextech laughed us out. Now we take their crown. We dove in, working 18-hour days to perfect our pitch. Lila mocked up a custom dashboard for Core Vantage's franchises, showing real-time sales predictions. Marcus stress-tested our platform to handle their data volume. I crunched numbers, building a case that TrendPulse could deliver better results. At half Nextech's price. We weren't just selling a product, we were selling a vision, empowering businesses, not bleeding them dry. Every late night, every pizza-fueled coding sprint felt like a step toward redemption. The stakes weren't just financial. This was personal. I'd spent 2 years replaying Hargrove's words, "You lack realism," and the memory of my firing still stung. I saw his smirk at the Tech Trend Expo, heard his laugh as he called TrendPulse a pipe dream. Now, we were gunning for his biggest client, armed with the idea he'd trashed. Lila caught me staring at the RFP one night, bleary-eyed at 2 a.m. "You okay, Ethan?" she asked. I nodded, tapping my old pitch deck, now dog-eared but sacred. "They said this was nothing. Let's make it everything." Word got out that TrendPulse was bidding. A tech gossip site ran a story. Fired employees startup challenges Nextech for Core Vantage deal. Comments flooded X, some rooting for us, others calling us delusional. I ignored the noise, but when Marcus showed me Nextech's latest press release, my jaw tightened. They doubled down, hyping their proven platform. Hargrove was quoted, "We don't worry about small fry. Core Vantage trusts experience, not experiments." It was a dig at us, and it lit a fire. The bid deadline neared, we polished every detail. I rehearsed the pitch until I could recite it in my sleep, visualizing the Core Vantage boardroom. This wasn't just about a contract, it was about dignity. Nextech had thrown me out, called me a dreamer with no place in their world. Now I was back, ready to rewrite their rules. I stood in our office, the team buzzing around me, and taped a new note to the whiteboard. "Take the crown." The fight was coming, and we were ready to swing. Part 5. I pitched the old idea. This time, they fought to agree. The Core Vantage boardroom in downtown Austin was a fortress of glass and steel, its long mahogany table lined with execs in tailored suits. My heart pounded as I stood at the head, TrendPulse's logo glowing on the screen behind me. Across the room, Nextech's team sat smug, Hargrove himself in the center, his smirk as sharp as ever. 3 years ago, he'd fired me for pitching this very idea, calling it vaporware. Now I was back, facing him in a $10 million showdown for Core Vantage's analytics contract. This wasn't just a pitch, it was my redemption. I took a breath, channeling every late night in the warehouse, every rejection email, every client. Win. Core Vantage's 500 franchises need insights that drive growth, I began, my voice steady. TrendPulse delivers AI-powered analytics tailored for small and mid-sized businesses at a price that respects their bottom line. I clicked through slides, data from our 2,000 clients, case studies of revenue spikes, a live demo showing real-time sales predictions for a Core Vantage franchise. Lila's sleek dashboard sparkled. Marcus's backend hummed flawlessly. I laid out our plan. A customized platform, scalable to 500 locations, with onboarding in 90 days, all for 40% less than Nextech's bloated quote. The board leaned in, scribbling notes. I hit the core of my pitch, the idea Nextech had mocked. "Small businesses aren't small dreams," I said. They're the backbone of this economy. TrendPulse empowers them with tools corporations take for granted. We've done it for breweries, gyms, retailers. We can do it for CoreVantage. I shared a story. A San Antonio diner that tripled profits using our tool. The room was wrapped, except for Hargrove, whose smirk had faded to a scowl. Nextech went next. Hargrove stood exuding corporate polish, but his pitch felt stale. Their platform was a clunky, overpriced relic, built for enterprises, not franchises. He leaned on proven reliability and decades of experience, but his slides lacked fire. The board asked pointed questions about cost, scalability, user experience, and Hargrove fumbled, deflecting to buzzwords. I caught a board member checking her watch. Nextech was losing them. When Q&A began, a CoreVantage VP grilled me. "You're a young company. Why should we trust you over a veteran like Nextech?" I locked eyes with her. "Because we've been in your franchise's shoes, scrappy, fighting for every dollar. We built TrendPulse for businesses like yours, not boardrooms. Our 2,000 clients prove it works, and our data shows a 25% average revenue lift. Nextech offers a one-size-fits-all solution. We offer precision." Hargrove shifted in his seat, his face tight. The room buzzed as we wrapped. I shook hands with the board, my pulse racing, but my smile calm. Hargrove avoided my gaze, muttering, "To his team." As we filed out, a gray-haired director pulled me aside. CoreVantage's CTO. "That was bold, Ethan," he said, his voice low. "You're not just selling a product, you're selling a vision. That's what we need. Someone who sees beyond quarterly reports." I nodded, barely breathing. "Thank you, sir." Back at our office, the team waited, nerves frayed. Lila refreshed her email obsessively. Marcus paced. 2 days later, the call came. I put it on speaker, CoreVantage's CEO on the line. "Ethan, your pitch hit every mark. TrendPulse is exactly what our franchises need. You've got the contract." The room erupted. Lila screamed, Marcus fist-pumped, our new hires hugged. I sank into a chair, the weight of 3 years lifting. We'd done it. A $10 million deal, snatched from Nextech's grip. That night, I stood alone in the office, staring at my old pitch deck, the one Hargrove had trashed. The idea he'd called a fantasy was now CoreVantage's future. I thought of the Austin rain, the cardboard box of my belongings, the sting of "you're fired." I didn't need Hargrove's approval anymore. I'd built something better than his. Empire, a company that believed in dreamers. As I taped the CoreVantage contract to our whiteboard, I whispered, "This is for the kid you underestimated." The fight wasn't over, but this round, it was mine. Part 6. I didn't beat them with hate. I won with vision. The news hit like a thunderclap. TrendPulse's $10 million CoreVantage contract was the talk of Austin's tech scene. Splashed. Across blogs and X with headlines like "Fired Employees Startup Steals Nextech's Biggest Client." Our downtown office buzzed with celebration. Lila blasted a victory playlist, Marcus ordered tacos for the team, and our new hires toasted with cheap sparkling cider. I stood by the window, the city skyline glowing, clutching the CoreVantage contract. 3 years ago, Nextech had thrown me out, calling my ideas vaporware. Now, my dream was their nightmare. The fallout was swift. TechCrunch ran a feature. From Fired to First, how TrendPulse outsmarted Nextech. It detailed our journey, warehouse days, ramen nights, the Tech Trend Expo hustle, painting us as underdogs who'd rewritten the rules. CoreVantage's CEO was quoted, "TrendPulse brought innovation Nextech couldn't match. They're the future." The article got 200,000 views in a day, and our inbox flooded with client inquiries. We went from 2,000 users to 5,000 in weeks, our servers groaning under the demand. Marcus grinned, upgrading our infrastructure. Guess we're big shots now. Nextech's silence was deafening. Insiders posted on X that Hargrove was livid, blaming his team for losing CoreVantage. A week later, I got a call from Jenna, a former Nextech colleague who'd watched my firing in silence. "Ethan, you were right all along," she said, her voice shaky. "Hargrove's scrambling. Clients are jumping ship. He never saw you coming." I thanked her, but her words didn't bring the satisfaction I'd expected. beating Next Tech, wasn't about gloating. It was about building something better. The real reward was our impact. Core Vantage's franchises rolled out TrendPulse, reporting 15% revenue gains in the first quarter. A Seattle coffee chain tweeted, "Thanks to TrendPulse, we predicted a latte boom and stocked up. Best month ever." A Florida boutique owner emailed, "Your tool helped me compete with the big guys. I'm hiring 2 more staff." Every story was a brick in the legacy we were building, not just a company, but a movement for businesses the industry had overlooked. I didn't see Hargrove again, and I didn't need to. His smirk, his "you're fired," his expo taunts, they were ghosts, powerless now. I'd answered his doubts not with hate, but with results. Still, I kept my old pitch deck on my desk, a reminder of the kid who'd walked out of Next Tech in the high rain, clutching an idea nobody believed in. That kid had built this: 100 employees, a new office with a rooftop deck, a valuation pushing $50 million. I owed him everything. One evening, I stood on that rooftop, the team laughing below as they planned our next feature. Austin's lights stretched out, a city that had seen me at my lowest and now my highest. I thought of my mom, who'd mailed me $20 during our warehouse days, saying, "Dreamers change the world." She was right. TrendPulse wasn't just feeding us, it was feeding hope, jobs, futures. We'd hired coders from community colleges, marketers who'd been laid off, dreamers like me who'd been told they didn't fit. As I leaned on the railing, Lila joined me holding a taco. "You did it, Ethan," she said. Hargrove's eating his words. I shook my head. "We did it, and we're not done." She grinned, and we clinked water bottles, the city humming below. The next day, I'd pitched to another VC, aiming to triple our user base. But for now, I let the moment sink in. They'd called me a dreamer, too unrealistic for their world. Now that dream employed 100 people, powered thousands of businesses, and reshaped an industry. I walked back to the party, taping a new goal to our office whiteboard: 10,000 clients by next year. The team cheered, and I smiled, my old pitch deck catching the light. "Here's to the dreamers," I said, raising a glass. The world had tried to break me, but I'd built something unbreakable. And as the music played, I knew this wasn't the end. It was the start of something even bigger. This is part 6, concluding Ethan's story with a reflective, triumphant resolution. The tone is uplifting and visionary, crafted to leave a YouTube or podcast audience inspired and satisfied. Let me know if you'd like me to revise anything, combine parts for a full story, or assist with anything else. Thank you for listening. Please give a like and subscribe to the channel so I have more motivation to create even more great stories.